We have got multiple of special type of collections of data in Swift. And we are going to talk about the arrays and a few of them. But of course, you can have much more greater than the arrays and dictionaries and all of these. And these complex data type can be added by linking up to the frameworks and the additional libraries which are available with the Swift. But let's not go into that much of depth. Let's try to stick with the basics of the array. So what is an array? An array stores the value of the same type in an ordered list. Now those two words are important, like same types and ordered list. Now for example, in the line number 7, I have got a computer high score. So let's say I'm building up a game and obviously there are going to be some computer generated high score which we need to have to make sure that user is indulged into the game. So we are having a 22 and all these values. So what you should keep an eye that arrays always starts from the 0, as you might have expected that it is a C influenced language, and this one is the 0, then 1, 2, and all of these are indexes. Also, you should keep an eye that once I have declared an array as an integer types, all of them integer, I cannot do mix and match up. This means all values should be same type. Like for example, if I try to have something like S out here, this is definitely going to complain me that, hey, you are not allowed to do so. So make sure that you keep an eye. Now again, one more important point, at some points, Swift will allow you to have leniency over including the data type. Now I'm talking about some special cases, not all the cases. Make sure that you do not do that if you get some leniency over the array. For the leniency, we have got different complex data types. So make sure that you use them and not the arrays for that. Now, one more important point that most of the programmers who are coming out from the Objective-C might ask, are the array mutable or this one is immutable? Now it depends on what type, how you have declared it. Like for example, I have declared it using the let, and this is going to be simply a strict array. It is not going to allow to add any values or delete any values or like that. But if I have declared it as a var, that means it's a variable array. I can perform operations like adding up the values, deleting up the values, and all of such things with that. So in the Swift, you should always keep an eye that the values are simply going to be editable and not editable based on let and var. There is no such thing like array mutable and ns not mutable and all of such things that we used to have in the Objective-C. Now, for example, in the player name, I have got a couple of them like Kevin, Andrew, Vivek, and Oliver, and all of these are editable. Now, once this is being understood that how we can declare the array like square brackets and comma separated value, that's it, you are allowed to create an array. Now, there is also sometimes where you want to have your array not being initialized. You want to initialize it later on by some values. So what you need to do is you can simply say that this is going to be my array, and make sure you inferred it by using the colon as an array of strings. Now, the square brackets, and inside that I have written the string. Now, if there would be only a string, that means I'm initializing and inferring it as a simple variable. The square bracket makes it as an array. Now, once you have done that, you can simply initialize it. But of course, I can do something like this. Like I can put like something like this and I can say string. But again, the Swift says if the value is so obvious, then you do not need to infer it. Also, this syntax is perfectly correct, but I would say why to waste time by writing extra code out here. Okay, good so far. Now we have got bikes, and I have included some of the Harley Davidson bikes out here like Fat Bob, Street, and Sportster. And I want to print my favorite bike. Again, keep an eye that this is 0 value, this is 1, and this is 2, and so on. So if I want to access any particular value, I can index it using the square brackets. This is how we index it out here. And there are some inbuilt method. Again, inbuilt method will only work for the arrays which are var in their type, not the let ones, because it is simply going to throw an error for us. Let's say, for example, that here in this case, I want to add up some values. Let me get some lines to make it at a center. And here we go. So we have got an inbuilt methods in the array like bikes.append, and I want to append at iron 883. Now, append means just add the values at the end of the array. So definitely, first is going to be Fat Boy, which is 0 index, 1, 2, and at the third index, it is simply going to be iron 883. Now, in case you want that my value should go at a particular position in that array, then you can use this property of .insert. And you have to give the name, and at the second time, you have to use @index. This is a keyword out here in that. And you can assign the position. So how do I know that I need to write the at index? Simply, I just typed in the bikes and try to use the insert, and you can see it automatically gives me at index. So I can add a new value and I can simply say one more bike or something like that. Like let's have any bike out here. Let's just say we have a monster out here. Now I don't know that bike exists or not, or anything. So this can be any bike. So let's just say any bike, and I can place an index out here. Let's say I want to get an insert out here on the position 0 or anything like that. So we can put that out. Now let me just get rid of this guy. We do not need that. We have got also some properties like count, which is really important. We need to many times we just need to count what are the number of arrays, number of values out there and all of that. Again, if you want to take a deep look and what is available, what is not, make sure that you just type a dot after that. And there is a lot of values that you can go around. Like one of them is important is empty. Like you can check the array whether the value is being generated in that or not by using simply the is empty, which returns a Boolean value. Okay, good so far. Let me just delete that. Now there is also one more interesting thing about the arrays. Like let's say for example, I want to initialize my array with all values of the 0. Then I can do that. I do not need to write all the values as again and again 0, 0, 0. But at 5 it looks feasible, but what about the 500 ones? It doesn't look feasible. And the main motto of the array is being indulged out here. It is not being specified. For getting rid of this, the Swift has done a really great job. Let's say for example, I have got an auto array, the variable array, and I'm trying to declare it as a double array. Now you can access the property by putting a pair of parentheses, and I can say count 5 and repeated value is 0.0. So what it will say that all the values are going to be 0.0, and how many values? Yes, you got it right. The 5 values. So it is one of the handy feature, although so far I haven't used it much out there, but still I'm assuming that this is going to be really handy when we are going to talk about later on stuff. But hey, who knows what is going to be useful at that time. It all matters how to solve problems. Also, we can loop through the arrays as well. And in fact, I've told you that for in loop is one of my favorite when I want to loop through over the arrays, because when I want to index, I don't know what is going to be inside the array. Is it going to be integers or string and all of that? This for in loop is a pretty smart one for that. And what it says, just write for bike in bikes. Now this is a one element. This is a collection of elements. So I'm saying for one element in collection of elements, print one element. So make sure that you remember how it works. Okay, pretty standard stuff, nothing extraordinary with the arrays and all the stuff I have told you out here. But again, make sure that when we build our application, we are going to implement all of these things into a much better and much sensible things.